So I'm going to start with a question to Gitungo, but I think there's also a relevant question for Political Watch in there as well, which is, what is your process for collecting data to track the promises? What data sources do you use? What challenges do you face? And for photo evidence or generally, do you have any process for checking that they're current and that they're photos of the thing that they say they are? So your process for collecting data and verifying it.
Okay, let me start. Okay, thank you. Let me start with the final part. For us, we don't crowdsource photos because it will be a lot of work on our side to verify whether they are true photos or produced through Photoshop, so we don't do that. For us, to the data collection process, we only deal with government data. For instance, if it's a promise, there are budgets that we can look at. So, for instance, if the government had promised to build or renovate the airport, we just check at the budget, did they allocate that kind of money? If they did not, then we align it with our promise tracker. We also have a CSO, a coalition of CSOs in Kenya, which we convene, and those CSOs, their work, they have strengths in different sectors. So we also crowdsource their reports, their data. There are CSOs that are working in the health sector, that's in the education sector, so they help us track promises on the sectors that they deal with.
Great, thank you. I'll come to Political Watch next. And somebody asks, what are your data sources? Does it come directly from Congress and government?
Yes, it comes directly from Congress. We don't want to substitute the Congress. So at the same time, we work closely with the camera to try to elevate their standards. So we don't need to do all this work, but yes, it's all the public Congress information. I don't want to know.
Yeah, and also for us, during those years, it's like we have some relation with the public servants in the Congress. So for us, it's like to show what is the correct way to doing things. Our main obsession was to disappear, because our democracy doesn't need a tool like we develop, because maybe me and you have a most important things to do if something works well.
Excellent, thanks. I'll put a question to Billy now, which is someone asking, was all the data the chatbot used translated into English for optimizing ChatGPT use? Do you have any concerns around local data protection on an international platform?
Okay, thank you for the question. And for the first one, that because all the data are open, so we are not concerned about use the ChatGPT will cause some privacy issue. So it's fine for us. And also we want to try to use another, such as Gemini or Cloudy, but for now we are using the OpenAI. And because the data is open, so there have no privacy issue. And second is about the localized LLM. And for now, that for us, the RAG is enough. But in the future, because there have some limitation about the file for the assistant API of OpenAI, that they only can give us 1,000 files at one time. But if in the future we will have a lot of files, and maybe we need to choose to use a local LLM. But that is the issue in the future, not for now. So for now, I think OpenAI is good, and it's not for us. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. I'll come to the audience in a second so you don't get too sick of my voice. But before we do that, I've got another question from Slido, which is to our sort of first two set presentations. Both of you make editorial decisions. For example, is a promise broken? What does good look like when it comes to judging a representative? how do you manage those decisions, and do others disagree?
Yeah. So yeah, we usually we have an editorial policy, and for the first principle that guides our work is we are objective and we are non-partisan. But of course, we are working in a political environment. So sometimes our decisions, sometimes what we produce, what we churn out may not sit well with powers that be. Sometimes they will be upset when we produce information that does not reflect them well in the public domain. For instance, a very good example is last year during the popular uprisings in Kenya. Our organization was shortlisted as among the organizations that were fueling the protest, only because we we had decided to analyze the finance bill that upsetted the public in Kenya, analyze it and give infographics, just make it easier for people to understand it. But our work is usually just analyze, give information as it is, and help citizens to digest it, so we don't guide them toward a certain way of making a decision or deciding. So it's objectivity first, and dealing with the data. Yeah.
Yeah, for ¿Qué hacen los diputados? We really take very few editorial decisions. Most of the work, it's, I wouldn't say automatic, but yes, you know, it's MP's fault, not our fault. We take some decisions when we decided, of course, which of the topics we want to use for the work. This 24 or 42?
41.
This over 40 social topics. This is the main decision, which topics are covered and not. Some economic issues are not covered by the tool, but could be, could have like social effects at the end. But the topics we decided to cover, there are the ones highlighted by the Spanish civil society as the key topics. So there's one part of the decision. And the other one, from time to time, we highlighted some issues with media or with social media. For example, the problem of shelter, vivienda? It's called vivienda. Yeah. The housing problem in Spain, which is really on the streets. It's a claim in the streets. So we decided to use the data and see how different parties are responding this issue, and then we offer the topic to some journalists, so we are making an editorial decision, but this always like following the pattern of civil society demands, usually. And also gender violence, for the 8th of March, we cover the gender-based issue, and we also, when we decided to make a comparison of the effort made by different parties around the topic, then we have been answers from deputies, from MPs, asking their, okay, I'm working more than you show here. No, these are the numbers. Maybe you are worried about this, but these are the numbers, and you are not working as much as you could do around this topic. So the power of numbers, the power of data, it's important for us.
We've got someone to ferry the mic. Brilliant, thank you. Excellent.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Franklin from Westminster Foundation for Democracy. I have a question for Gitungo with regards to the promise tracker. So it's very interesting what you have shared. And if I understand correctly, so you're looking at different ways in which promises are kept. And one of the things you mentioned was that promises delivered through legislation, right? So I was wondering, how do you assess to what extent the legislation which is passed is also being implemented? Because if a politician makes a promise and it's passed through legislation, doesn't necessarily mean that legislation is actually enacted and implemented and makes a difference. And I have a similar question for our colleagues from Spain. So if I understand correctly, also there you give points to the performance of MPs, including one I think you mentioned was around MPs building consensus for a proposal being passed. So also there the same question, do you give an additional point if the proposal is not only passed, but also being implemented? And how do you assess the actual implementation of these proposals which are passed?
Brilliant, thank you. And if I could sort of, I suppose, add a question to Billy on top of that on a similar note as well, which is, I suppose, do you come back to things and see if things have been implemented as well? And is that reflected in the chatbot? But let's start in the room with the answers.
Thank you, Franklin. And for your information, we share the same office with the Westminster Foundation, Kenya. Yeah. In terms of promises fulfilled through legislation, there is post-legislative scrutiny, though it is not well entrenched in Kenya. There is one committee in Kenya that is called Committee of Implementation. So the committee is usually tasked to follow up on the resolutions of the Kenyan Parliament, whether they have been implemented by the executive. So we rely on their reports. So we go look at the reports of the Committee on Implementation on whether their resolutions have been implemented.
Thank you for the question. I'm afraid the quick answer is no. We have not the resources, and it's not the main idea of the project to overview and follow the implementation of the law. But apart from our tool, our advocacy work would focus on that point. Of course, if there's a law that we've been fighting for to be passed, and we see there are no the steps have not been accomplished, we'll do an advocacy work from our political watch team to press and in favor of this law, usually with a coalition of NGO, because as I said before, it's part of our DNA to work together. But the tool, by the moment, is not following the implementation.
Thanks. And yes, Billy, if you've got anything from your perspective on how the chatbot is able to reflect anything that's implemented after the event.
For now, we are trying to, you mean implement that for the government, or we are trying to reduce, please.
Oh no, after you.
Yeah. For now, that we are, because in next year in Taiwan we will have an election, and the election is about the city councilors. And we hope that this chatbot can be implemented at that time, and to help the citizen can use the chatbot to get informed about how to voting. And we hope through these kind of things that can make the city councilor know that there are a good chance for the city council to open more data. And if the chatbot can have more data, and it can answer more good questions to the citizens, and can make them can know the performance of the city councilors. And we hope that this technology can implement by this kind of way. Yes. Is that
Brilliant.
okay?
Yeah, that was great, thank you. I'm going to go back to Slido for another question. It's a theme that's come up in a few things that people have asked, which is whether you get pushback on the tools that you've built. But also this from Hendrik from make.org. What is your relationship with the institutions you are tracking? Is there a lot of collaboration? Why or why not? So the relationships that you've got with the institutions you're tracking and monitoring, and whether you get much pushback from them.
For us in Kenya, I would say it's a love-hate relationship. Sometimes when they can use, sometimes even government institutions, parliament, the executive may use our tools to showcase what they have been doing. But sometimes when the information therein does not favor, then politicians, being who they are, they will not be so happy with our tools, and sometimes they may even start saying the generic stuff that are said in Kenya, that these people are funded by outsiders to destabilize the country. But yeah, sometimes we feel the love, sometimes we feel the pushback. Yeah.
On our side, we have a very good relationship with the staff, parliament staff, like civil servants, and especially the one who is in charge of the Congress website and all the work about open parliament. And in fact, we've been invited to make contributions to the first ever open parliament plan in Spain, which is about to be published. In 45 years of democracy have never been an open parliamentary plan. So it took some time, but we did it. And yeah, we have like a correct relationship with the MPs ruling the, I would say, Congress table, but I don't know, it's like the short list MPs that, yeah, the committee that rules the organization of the Congress. We have a fluid and correct relationship, not close and friendly, because I don't think it would be a good idea. But I would say we are a powerful part of the civil society, and we are taken into account and well considered.
Thank you. And Billy, your relationship with the institutions that you're covering and monitoring?
Yes, it's really interesting. Before, we are a supervisor for the city council. So that's why we make the video clips and why we make the website to make people can inform by this kind of information. But this time, while we release the chatbot, I think a lot of the counselor that they really like this idea, because in before, while the citizen want to know their performance, and it's hard to explain what they are doing in the city council. And while the citizen got the chatbot, they can ask the question by themselves. And the performance is based on what they are doing in the parliament, and it's not, they will not say something wrong. So for them, it's a good tool for them to help the citizen know what's their performance. And we hope that in the future that they can know the power of this kind of technology can open more data for us.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, that brings this session to a close. We're now going to go to a lunch break from 12:30 until 1:30. But before we do, a couple of very big thank yous. First of all, to all of you in the room and joining us online, and for some brilliant questions as well. And please do join me in a round of applause for our brilliant speakers, Gitungo, Celia, Pablo, and Billy. Thank you very much indeed.